Elie Wiesel's Night, Adaptation 2016, Chapter 18, page 31. Our barrack was very uncomfortable. I thought, this is what hell must look like. So many angry men, so much shouting, so much despair. Take off your clothes, hurry up, hold on to your belt and shoes. We threw our clothes onto the floor. There was a pile there already. New suits, old ones, torn coats, rags. We were all naked. We were all equal. It was so cold. To the barber, someone shouted. The barbers shaved every hair on our bodies. My head was buzzing. The same thought, over and over, not to be separated from my father. We walked around looking for friends and neighbors. Thank God you are still alive, some were crying. They talked and cried with each other. Suddenly, someone hugged me. Yehiel, the brother of one of my friends from school. He was sobbing tremendously. I thought he was crying because he was happy to be alive. Don't cry, Yehiel, I said. Don't waste your tears. Not cry? We're near to death. Soon they will kill us. Do you understand? How can I not cry? I looked out into the dark. I no longer was afraid. I was overcome by exhaustion. We were like lost souls forced to walk through the darkness until the end of time, seeking hope but never finding it. Chapter 19. Around 5 a.m., we left the barrack. The Nazi soldiers were beating us again, but I no longer felt the pain. A cold wind was blowing. We were naked, holding our shoes and belts. An order, run, and we ran. After a few minutes of running, we went to a new barrack. We had to wash in cleaning liquid and then hot showers. Another barrack, prison clothes. As we ran, they threw the clothes at us. Pants, jackets, shirts. In a few seconds, we had stopped being men. If the situation was not so horrible, we would have laughed. We looked pretty strange. A very tall man wore child's pants, and one skinny little man was wearing a huge jacket. We immediately started to change clothes. I looked at my father. How different he looked. His eyes looked empty. I wanted to tell him something, but I didn't know what. The night had passed completely. The morning star was in the sky. I too was a different person. The student of Talmud, the child I was, had been eaten by the fire. All that was left was a shape that looked like me. The black fire had eaten my soul. So many events in just a few hours that I completely lost all sense of time. When had we left our homes? And the ghetto? And the train? Only a week ago? One night? One single night? How long had we been standing in the freezing rain? 1 hour? A single hour? 60 minutes? It must be a dream. Chapter 20. We waited for hours in the mud. We watched over other prisoners working. A Nazi soldier came in, and with him the smell of the angel of death. We stared at his lips. He screamed at us from the center of the barrack. You are in a concentration camp, in Auschwitz. A pause. He was waiting for us to react. His face remains in my memory to this day. A tall man in his 30s, evil in his eyes. He looked at us like we were a group of dying animals. Remember, he said, remember it always. You are in Auschwitz, and Auschwitz is a concentration camp. Here you must work. If you don't, you will go straight to the chimney, to the crematorium. Work or crematorium, the choice is yours. His words sent fear through us. The word chimney here was real. It was in the air, mixed with the smoke. It was the only word that had a real meaning in this place. He left the barrack. Other Nazi soldiers ordered people with professions like carpenters to go with them. The rest of us went to another barrack. We were allowed to sit down. A Jewish prisoner was in charge. My father suddenly felt sick. He got up and asked nicely in German, "Excuse me, can you please tell me where the bathrooms are?" The man looked at him for a long time. Then the man hit my father so hard that he fell down. My father moved back to his place in the group. I stood terrified. What had happened to me? My father had just been hit in front of me, and I did nothing. I watched and was silent. Only yesterday I would have hit that man and protected my father. Had I changed that much? So fast? All I could think was, I will never forgive them for this. My father could see I was angry, and he whispered in my ear, "It doesn't hurt." His cheek was still red from the man's hand. Chapter 22. We ran to another barrack. We had to take hot showers. We were told to keep running at midnight. "Faster," yelled the soldiers. "The faster you run, the faster you can go to sleep." After a few minutes of running very fast, we came to a new group of barracks. The man in charge of this was a man from Poland. He was smiling at us. "Friends, you are now in the concentration camp called Auschwitz. This place is full of despair. Don't lose hope. You have already suffered the worst danger, the selection. Get our strength and keep believing. One day we will all be free. If you believe in life and send away your despair, you will move away from death. Hell cannot last forever. And now, here is a prayer and some advice. We are all brothers and share the same destiny. The same smoke is over all our heads. Help each other. That is the only way to survive. And now you are tired. Listen. You are in Block 17. I am responsible for this area. Anyone with a problem may come to see me. That is all. Go to sleep. 2 people for each bed. Good night." Those were the first human words. Chapter 23. As soon as we climbed into our beds, we fell into a deep sleep. The next morning we went to the showers. We got new clothes. Other prisoners gave us black coffee. We left the block around 10 a.m. Outside, the sun was warm. Our mood was much happier. A good night's sleep had done its work. Friends talked, but no one said anything about the people who had died in the concentration camp. Everyone talked about how the war was going to end. At about 12 a.m., the soldiers gave us soup, 1 bowl of thick soup for each of us. I was very hungry, but I did not want to eat. My father ate my soup. In the afternoon, they told us to pull up our shirts and walk past the table. 3 prisoners put tattoos of numbers on our left arms. I became A7713. From then on, I had no other name. Chapter 24, page 36. Days went by. In the mornings, black coffee. At lunch, soup. By the 3rd day, I was eating any kind of soup. At 6 p.m., attendance, then bread and more soup. 9 p.m., bedtime. We stayed in Auschwitz for 3 weeks. We had nothing to do. Our one goal was to avoid the deportation, the transports. We wanted to stay here as long as possible. After 3 weeks, our area leader, the Polish man who spoke to us on the first night, was deported. The Nazis said he was too nice. The new leader for our area was very mean, and his helpers were monsters. The good days were over. Stein, our family member, was in another barrack in the concentration camp. Stein visited us sometimes and brought me bread. "Here, this is for you, Eliezer." Every time he came, he cried to see us. Stein often said to my father, "Take care of your son. He is very weak and he needs more water. Take care. Selection will come. Eat anything, anytime. Eat all you can. The weak don't last long around here." And even Stein was so skinny, so weak. Chapter 25. Sometimes at night in the barracks, prisoners would sing Jewish songs. Some of the men spoke of God, His mysterious ways, and the freedom in the future. I had stopped praying. I was not denying the existence of God, but I did not completely believe in His justice. One prisoner said God was giving us a test. Another prisoner talked about the end of the world. Sometimes I thought about my family. Where is Mother right now? And my sister Tzipporah? Mother is still a young woman, my father said. She must be in a labor camp. And Tzipporah, she's a big girl now. She must be in a camp also. We did not believe his words. We pretended, in case the others still believed my mother and sister were still alive. Chapter 26, page 37. "Today it's your turn," said one man who was in charge of the transports. "You are leaving with the next transport." At 10 o'clock, they gave us our bread for the day. 10 Nazi soldiers surrounded us. We were walking slowly. We walked through small towns. Many Christian Germans watched us. They did not show any surprise. They had probably seen many of these prisoner groups pass by their homes. On the way, we saw some young German girls. The Nazi soldiers began to talk to them. The girls laughed. The Nazis kissed the girls. They all were laughing, joking, and passing love notes to one another. Then we reached the new concentration camp, Buna. Chapter 28. One day, when we came back from the factory, the secretary called me. "A7713? That's me. After eating, you will go see the dentist." "But I don't have a problem." "After eating, you will go." I went to the dentist. 20 prisoners were waiting in line at the entrance. We soon understood why we had to come. The dentist was going to take out our gold teeth. Sitting in the chair, I asked, afraid, "What are you going to do, sir?" "I will remove your gold tooth, that's all," he said. I thought of pretending to be sick. "Can't you wait a few days, sir? I don't feel well. I am sick." He thought for a moment. "All right, son. Come back to see me when you feel better, but don't wait for me to call you." I went back to see him a week later, with the same excuse. I still was not feeling well. He let me wait another week. A few days after my visit, the Nazis closed the dentist's office. The dentist was also Jewish. The Nazis were going to kill him. The Nazis found out that he was selling prisoners' gold teeth for his own benefit. I did not feel bad for him. In fact, I was happy with what was happening to him. My gold tooth was safe. My gold tooth could be useful to me one day. I could use it to buy something, some bread, or even time to live. At that moment in time, all that mattered to me was my bowl of soup, my old, hard bread. The bread, the soup, those were my entire life. I was nothing but a body.